The mirror technique. How to make anyone trust you instantly. The mirror technique is far more than a simple conversational hack. It is the fundamental psychological secret of how to make anyone trust you instantly by bypassing their conscious defenses and speaking directly to their primal need for connection. If you stay engaged till the end, you'll understand something most people never realize about the nature of human identity and why we are biologically wired to fall in love with our own reflection in others. Imagine for a moment that you are walking into a room full of strangers, feeling that cold, invisible wall that separates your inner world from theirs, that subtle anxiety of being misunderstood or judged. But then you lock eyes with someone who moves exactly how you move and speaks at the exact rhythm of your own thoughts. And suddenly, without a single logical reason, you feel safe. This is the power you are about to unlock, a power that resides deep within the subconscious mind, where the logic of the brain holds no sway, and only the raw data of emotion and familiarity matters. You must understand that every human being you meet is walking around with a subconscious checklist, a security system evolved over millions of years to detect threats. And this system is constantly scanning for things that are different, for patterns that do not match. Because in the ancient history of our species, difference often meant danger. When you master the art of mirroring, you are effectively hacking this security system, sending a continuous stream of signals to the other person's brain that says, I am like you, I am safe, I am part of your tribe. And when that signal is received, the chemical floodgates of oxytocin and dopamine open up, creating a bond of trust that feels almost destined. It starts with the physical, but you must go deeper than just awkwardly copying someone's crossed legs or the way they hold a coffee cup. Because if you treat this like a game of Simon Says, you will be detected as a fraud, and the wall between you will double in thickness. True mirroring is an act of radical empathy, where you allow your own ego to dissolve for a moment so that you can step into the reality of another person, noticing the subtle tension in their shoulders, the pace of their breathing, the specific words they use to describe their emotions. And you begin to adopt these traits not to mock them, but to understand them from the inside out. As you listen to the sound of my voice right now, pay attention to your own breathing and realize that rapport is nothing more than shared rhythm. When you speak to someone who talks fast and loud while you talk slow and soft, there is a dissonance, a friction that creates psychological heat and mistrust. But when you adjust your internal metronome to match theirs, that friction vanishes and is replaced by a smooth, synchronized flow where ideas can travel without resistance. You start noticing that trust is not built on credentials or logical arguments, but on the feeling of being seen, really seen, by another human being who is validating your existence by reflecting it back to you. This technique requires you to become a chameleon of the soul, observing the micro-expressions that flash across a person's face and the underlying emotions that drive their words, and then reflecting that emotional state back to them with your own face and voice. When someone is angry, you do not meet them with calmness immediately, for that invalidates their reality. Instead, you meet them with a mirrored intensity, a concern that matches their frustration, and only then, once the connection is established, can you slowly guide them toward calmness. A process psychologists call pacing and leading. You have to realize that most people are desperately lonely, trapped inside their own heads with thoughts and feelings they believe no one else understands. So when you come along and hold up a mirror that shows them a clear image of who they are, they will feel an addiction to your presence that they cannot explain. It is crucial to use this power with integrity, because you are essentially entering the control room of their mind, lowering the drawbridge that protects their vulnerable self. And if you use this merely for manipulation, you leave a trail of psychological damage. But if you use it for connection, you heal the isolation that plagues us all. Think about the last time you felt an instant click with someone, a moment where the conversation flowed effortlessly and you felt like you had known them for years. That was not magic. That was mirroring happening unconsciously, a synchronization of two nervous systems finding a common frequency. Now, imagine doing this consciously, intentionally, with every person you meet, from your boss to a romantic partner to the cashier at the grocery store, watching as their eyes light up and their posture relaxes because their brain is whispering to them that you are one of them. You need to pay close attention to the specific vocabulary they use, because words are the clothing of our thoughts. And if someone uses visual language saying, "I see what you mean," or "it looks like this," you must mirror that visual language back to them. Avoiding auditory phrases like "I hear you," which would create a subtle mismatch in your cognitive processing. This level of detail sounds exhausting, but it becomes second nature when you stop trying to be interesting and start being interested, allowing your own personality to take a back seat so that you can become a vessel for their expression. The deepest level of trust comes when you can mirror not just their behavior, but their values and their beliefs, validating the very core of who they think they are, which requires you to listen with a focus that is rare in this distracted world. Most people listen only to respond, waiting for their turn to speak, but you will listen to understand, to absorb, to map the architecture of their mind so that you can navigate it with respect and precision. As you practice this, you will find that your own sense of self becomes fluid, expanding to include the experiences of others. And you will realize that the rigid boundaries we place between me and you are largely illusions created by our failure to pay attention. The mirror technique is powerful because it satisfies the deepest human hunger, which is the hunger for validation, the need to know that we are not crazy, that our experience of the world is shared, and that we are not alone in the void. When you provide that validation, you become a source of safety and comfort, and people will trust you with their secrets, their fears, and their dreams, often within minutes of meeting you. However, you must be careful not to lose yourself in the reflection, for if you mirror too perfectly, you risk becoming a hollow echo, devoid of your own substance. So the art lies in blending their reality with yours, creating a third space where both of you exist in harmony. You might be wondering if this is deceptive, but ask yourself, is it deceptive to speak French to a French person? No, it is respectful. It is an effort to meet them on their own ground, and mirroring is simply the universal language of emotion and physiology. As you go through your day-to-day, challenge yourself to pick one person and sync your body language with theirs. Match the volume of their voice, adopt their energy level, and observe the shift in the atmosphere, the sudden warmth that enters the interaction, and the way they begin to open up to you as if you were an old friend. This creates a feedback loop, because as they feel understood by you, they begin to mirror you in return, and soon you are both caught in a positive spiral of mutual validation that strengthens the bond with every passing second. You are bypassing the critical factor of the conscious mind, that skeptical gatekeeper that doubts and questions, and you are speaking directly to the limbic system, the ancient emotional center that decides who is friend and who is foe before a single word is even processed. The implications of this are terrifyingly vast, for it means that influence is not about logical persuasion, but about physiological resonance, about vibrating at the same frequency as the person you wish to connect with. If you stay with this practice, you will start to see the strings that pull human behavior, the subtle cues that dictate who gets hired, who gets the date, who gets the sale, and you will realize that it was never about competence or merit alone, but about the invisible dance of mirroring that determines who fits in and who remains an outsider. You have the choice now to continue walking through life as a solitary entity, clashing with the energies around you, or to become water, fluid and adaptable, capable of reflecting the sky, the trees, and the people around you, disarming them with the gentle power of their own image. It is a profound responsibility to hold the mirror for another person, to let them see themselves clearly in your eyes, and in doing so, you grant them permission to trust you, because in trusting you, they are really trusting the part of themselves that they recognize in you. The world is full of noise and disconnect, but you can be the silence that allows others to hear themselves, the calm surface that allows them to see themselves, and in that moment of recognition, the barrier drops, the skepticism fades, and trust is not just given, it is inevitable. As you reflect on this, consider that perhaps the reason you crave trust from others is that you are looking for that same reflection. And by giving it first, you initiate the cycle that eventually brings it back to you. The ultimate realization is that the mirror technique is not about changing who you are to please others, but about expanding who you are to include others. breaking down the illusion of separation until there is no you and them, but only a shared moment of understanding. When you walk into a room next time, remember that you are not there to impress. You are there to reflect, and in that reflection lies the key to every door you wish to open. The silence you feel inside you now is the space where this connection grows, a space you can cultivate and offer to the world as a gift. Do not underestimate the intensity of this practice, for when you look deeply into someone and let them look deeply into you, you are touching the very fabric of what it means to be human. So, go forth and be the mirror, not as a trick but as a truth. And watch as the world transforms around you, softening its edges and opening its arms, simply because you took the time to show it its own face. You are now equipped with a tool that can change the trajectory of your life and the lives of those you touch, provided you use it with the empathy and depth it demands. The next time you speak, let your words be the echo of their thoughts. Let your posture be the shadow of their stance, and witness the instant magical collapse of the distance between two souls.